Hello everyone. I Professor Seema welcomes you all in this fourth lecture of online series of computer graphics. For this lecture, we are having some interesting topic today. So let's get started. So today's topic is segments, segment and animation. Let me share you the screen. We'll start with the PPTs. Okay. So let's get started with the segments and animation. So before starting this, I want to imagine you, I want to let you imagine one of the scene or the picture when uh, your drawing teacher used to ask you to draw any picture, and at that time you draw the picture of uh, your favorite picture that is that contains some hills or mountains. The river is passing through the mountains, some trees and some birds are flying, the sun is rising behind from the mountain. So that is the picture which is one of the most favorite picture of ours. So now let's consider that this scene is with us, with some hills, some mountains, some birds are flying, the river is passing through the hills. Now, if you want to apply some transformation on birds, okay, like birds are flying in a straight direction, and you have to, if you have to apply the transformation of rotation on that bird, okay, or you have to give some motion to your trees, give to some motion to your birds or tree, or give some motion to your river passing through the mountains. Okay, means what you have to do, you have to do some changes in your picture. So how you will do this? How you will do this? So for this purpose, you have to make some changes on your image, or you have to make some changes on the instructions where actually your image is stored, right? So where your image is stored, so you know about where is your image stored. So not the image, but the instructions related to your image is displayed in your display file, right? So you have to make some changes for changing your image or object of your image or scene. Okay, so changing or making some transformation in display file is not that much convenient. So for this purpose, we are using the segment, the concept of segment. Okay, so let's get started with the segment. Some of the introduction about the segment. In your picture or in your scene, you are having different objects, right? So each object has some set of attributes such as the size of your object, the color you provide to your object, and its position in the scene or in that particular image, right? So you have to if you wish to see all those objects simultaneously or a single object at a time, then what you have to do, so for that purpose you can use the segment to view the entire image or a part of the image with various attributes. We need to organize the image information in a particular manner. Okay, and this image information, where we stored it, right now I said you, or right now just I have told you that we stored it in the display file, right? So existing structure of this display file does not satisfy our requirement of viewing the image. So the display file structure is modified to reflect the sub pictures structure, and to achieve this display file, or to achieve this goal, the display file is divided into the segments. Okay, so as your image is having the number of objects, so the display file is having that number of segments in it, right? So each segment corresponds to a component or an object of the overall display, and is associated with a set of attributes. Okay, so what do you mean by that attributes, or this set of attributes, that will cover later or in the next slide. Before that, along with these attributes, the segment is also associated with the image transformation parameters. Okay, so image transformation parameters means what? Now you know about you know about the transformations. Just before this lecture, we have studied it, right? Transformation, translation, scaling, rotation, okay, reflection, sharing, okay, all this transformation, you can apply any of the transformation on your object. So this image transformation parameters such as scaling along x or y direction, rotation, shearing, right? So therefore the presence of segment allows us to the subdivision of the picture. Means you can subdivide your picture into number of objects. Okay, visualization of a particular part of the picture. Okay, if you want to see only a particular part of your scene, means from that scene of hills and river and tree, if you want to see only the sun and the tree, and the rest you want to delete, or the rest you don't want to see, don't want to add in your scene, then what you have to do? So there are some operations in segment for this, that we are going to cover uh, one by one in this lecture. So visualization of a particular part of the picture, scaling, rotation, and translation of a particular part of the picture. So all this we can do with the help of the segment. Okay, all we can do with the help of the segment. So for this, we'll discuss the segmentation of display file along with the different operations of the segments. Okay, first we'll see the segment table. So actually, how they are interlinked, or how they are connected. Okay, means use how the segment table is going to be created. Okay, here you can see in this particular picture, this is your screen, or this is your scene. This is your scene in which you can see this smiley and this arrow. These are the object of your screen. The instructions or the information related to this particular object, where it is stored, it is stored here in the particular portion, in the above portion. The information related to the smiley is stored in the display file, and in the lower one, the in the lower part of your display file, the instructions or information related to the arrow is stored. Okay, now how actually it is going to be stored in the segment table? Okay, so that is given here, the link is given here. Okay, and this particular set of instructions or are stored in this segment table. Likewise, you will get a clear idea in the next picture. Okay, so segment, how actually you are going to create the segment table and what is there you are going to store in this particular segment table. So as we have seen in the previous image, the objects, so where a particular object of your screen is stored in the display file, so that for that particular object you have to create a separate segment. Means for each object you have to create a separate segment. Okay, and what you have to mention there, the segment number. Okay, so as many objects you are having, so the numbers you are having, or the that much segments you are having. Okay, the segment number is given here, 0 1 2 3. The segment number should be unique one, it should be valid, it should be unique. There should not be any duplication um in case of segment number. Okay, in segment start, what um you have to mention from which position that segment is started. Okay, so that you have that number you have to provide here. Okay, then next one is segment size. What is the actual size of that segment that you have to mention in this particular attribute. Then if you are performing the transformation, scaling transformation on your that particular object, then the related attributes of that particular transformation you have to mention over here. If you are if you are applying rotation, suppose, so for it, for rotation, whatever needed information is there, you have to add over here. Okay, like for rotation we need angle and the direction, means from which direction, whether counterclockwise or clockwise direction it is moving or rotating, that you have to mention over here. Okay, suppose you are applying the translation, then translate x, translate y, you have to add over here. The color for your object you can mention, and the visibility. Okay, visibility is very much important part of your attributes of your segment. Okay, what visibility defines? It it defines that whether to make on or off that particular segment. Means suppose in that particular scene, if you want to see only only the object, like a tree, trees or birds, and the rest you have to delete, then what you can do, you can do the you can make them off, or the part or the object which you don't want to see in that particular screen. So for that purpose you have to make their visibility off there. Okay, you have to make their visibility off here. Okay, and only you want to see on your output screen or display screen. For that purpose, for the that segments you have to make the visibility on in the visibility field. Okay, so that is very much important, important from the table segment table attributes. So these are nothing but the attributes: segment number, segment start, segment size, and the transformation, color, and visibility. Okay, next. So for storing purpose, or how actually the structure of this segment table, so for storing these segments and all the information, we generally use the array. But in if you want to use another data structure, then you can go for linked list. uh, so if you are choosing the linked list, then you have to provide the link numbers in the attribute separately in the attribute or in the segment table. Okay, likewise shown here in the last field of link. Okay, you have to provide the links for your segment. Okay, which is the first one, then the second, then the third. Okay, or from after first, which scene you have to create, which scene you have to delete, that links you have to provide over here. Okay, so you can use linked list also for storing the data of your segment table. Okay, next. So this is the structure actually given, how the display file and linked list they are interconnected, or how the structure can be shown. Um, so for that purpose, this diagram is there. Starting is from segment 3, segment number 3. So in the link of in the link first link, the start of your picture or scene creation is given. The link is start is equal to 3, means start drawing your picture from link number 3, means uh, sorry, segment number 3. So the starting link is having the address of that particular segment. Okay, so likewise the other links are having the further connections. Okay, further links. So by using this linked list also, you can store your data dynamically in the segment table or in the display file. Okay, now the first one is segment creation. So for doing this transformation or this thing, doing adding or deleting, removing, renaming, closing your picture or any particular object, how you can do this? By applying some transformation, or by doing some operations on that particular object. Okay, so which are the operations are there now? So the operations, like the disk files, you till now you all are familiar with the common methods of creating and modifying the sequential disk files. We can add data there, we can delete the data, we can rename that particular file, we can make changes in particular file and then again rename. Okay, we can close that particular file. So all these operations we can do on the disk files. Likewise, we can do the very same operations with the for manipulating the display file segments. Okay, to create a new segment, we create it and then call the graphics primitives to add to the segment the lines and the text to be displayed. Then we close that particular segment. We can also make changes to your segment or to modify the contents. We rename the current segment and with the modified segment, and to remove the segment from the display file, what we do, we can delete that particular segment. Okay, thus we use this 4 basic functions. We can create a segment, close a segment, delete the segment, and rename the segment. Okay, so before for this segment creation, what are the important steps are there, or what are the necessary things we have to remember while creating a segment that are given? That we must give the segment name so that we can identify it. Okay, it is not allowed to open two segments at the same time. Okay, initially we have to check whether some while creating a particular segment, we have to check whether some other segment is still open or not. And if open, then you have to close that particular segment, and then you have to add the or create the new segment. Okay, it is not allowed to open two segments at the same time, because it is then difficult to assign the drawing instructions to a particular segment. So for that purpose, the segment must be created or opened when no other segment is currently open. Okay, we must give the segment a name so that we can identify it. While doing this, it is important to check whether a segment name is valid or not, and whether there already exists a segment with the same name. Okay, that we have to check while creating a segment. And if so, then we have to assign some other valid name to your particular segment that you are going to create. Okay, once the valid segment name is assigned, we have to initialize the items in the segment table under our segment name. Okay, and to indicate that this is a fresh new segment. Okay, the first instruction of this segment will be located at the next free storage area in the display file, where it is going to be stored in the next free storage area of the display file. Okay, as we have not entered any instructions into the segment file yet, so its size is initialized with the value 0. Okay, so all these points you have to remember while creating a segment. Okay, the attributes of the segments are initialized as a default attribute values. So all that are important while creating a segment. The next operation is closing a segment. Once a segment is open, we can enter the display file instructions in it. Okay, the entered commands are then associated with the open segment. Okay, means what you did there, you have opened that segment. The segment is currently open there. Okay, after completion of entering all the display file instructions, the segment must be closed. Why it must be closed? So that if it is mistakenly open there and some changes happen, so your scene will get changed. Okay, or some disturbance will get create in that particular segment. So for that purpose, you have to close that particular segment. And to close a segment, it is necessary to change the name of the currently open segment. Okay, so it can be achieved by changing the name of currently open segment as what? 0. You have to assign the name as a 0 for currently open segment. Okay, now the segment with name 0 is what? It is open. Okay, and if there means what? That is mean unnamed segment is open right now. Okay, and if there are two unnamed segments in the display file, so in that case, what you have to do, you have to delete the one. Okay, one has to be deleted if there are two unnamed segments are there in your display file. Okay, you have to delete either of the segment from that one. Okay, so that is the closing a segment, second operation. Third one is deleting segment, deleting a segment. So for deleting a segment, it is very much easy operation as we do with the array. Okay, if you delete particular segment, then the rest of the segment below that below that particular segment will get added up. Okay, or will get shifted up. Okay, so deleting a segment, for this purpose, what you have to do when we want to delete a particular segment from the display file, then we must recover the storage space occupied by its instruction and make this space free. Okay, while deleting a segment, you have to delete all the instructions, and you have to make that space free for some other segment. Okay, so that you can uh, copy some other segment there. Okay, you can add some other segment there. To do this, we must not destroy and reform the entire display file, but we must delete just one segment while preserving the rest of the display file. So the method to achieve this depends upon the data structure used to represent the display file. Okay, but now we are using array. Okay, for storing the display file information. So use of array makes the recovery of storage space occupied by the segment very easy and straightforward. So however, using arrays is not as efficient as some other storage techniques such as linked list, but it is somewhat easier one with the array. In case of arrays, the gap left by the deleted block is filled by shifting up all the segments which are following the deleted segment. Okay, you can see in this particular diagram. If you want to delete the segment number 3, oh sorry, segment 2 is deleted here, so the segment 3 and segment 4 is shifted up in this particular display file. Okay, so that is the operation of deletion. Okay, the algorithm is there for deletion of a segment. The same instructions are given which I have mentioned right now. Okay, you can go through the algorithm. I'll give you 1 minute for this. Just go through all these steps, read it carefully, how to delete particular segment. Okay, let's move forward. The last operation we can do with the segment is the renaming. Now you know when you apply the renaming. So we can display animated character on the display by presenting sequence of images, each with a slightly different drawing of the character. Okay, so this sequence you are storing uh, one by one. Okay, so let us assume that we have a segment in a display file for that animated character, and then to display a new image in that particular sequence, we have to delete the current segment and recreate it with the altered character. Okay, so the problem is in this process is what is that during the time after the first image is deleted and the time before the second image is completely entered, only a partially completed character is displayed on the screen. Okay, partially completed character is displayed on the screen. So we can avoid this problem by keeping the next image ready in the display file before deleting the current segment. Okay, this means what? This means that both the segment which is to be deleted and the segment which is to be replaced with replaced with must exist in the display file at the same time. So this can be achieved by creating a new invisible image under same temporary segment name. Now when the current segment is deleted, so we can make the new image visible and rename it with the name of deleted segment. Okay, so this steps, when it is repeated number of times, when it is repeated number of times and you get some motion, okay, so in that case you will achieve the term that is animation. Okay, so the idea of storing two images, one to show and other to create or alter, is called as a buffering. So this is a one liner question is there, or what do you mean by double buffering, or the definition will give, and in the MCQ part the options will be given there what it is called as double buffering, single buffering, or some other names. So you have to remember what is this. This is double buffering. The idea of storing what? Two images, one to show and other to create or alter. So that is called as a double buffering. Okay, so that is what the part or the operations. This is the algorithm with rename segment. I'll share you the PPTs on Google Classroom. You can read over there. So without wasting time, we are at the end of this. We are at the end of this segment. The last part is visibility. Visibility is you have seen now in the diagram or in the segment table. It is one of the attribute, okay, of the segments. So visibility makes your particular segment on or off, means to make your particular part of your screen, part of your segment visible or invisible. So for that purpose you have to use the visibility attribute. Okay, so here we have all we have covered all the concepts of the segments. Okay, and the more about segment is by uh, when visible, apart from this, right now I have told you about the visibility. When visible attributes of a segment is one, what it means? It means that that particular segment is active. Okay, active segment list in your display file interpreter, and that display file interpreter processes it. Okay, such a segment is called as a posted segment, which is having its visibility on or one. Okay, and the segment having the visible attribute as 0 is what? It is not a active segment. Okay, in your segment list of your in your segment list, and the display file interpreter, uh, what it does with such segments, it keeps this segment, and such a segment is called as a unposted segment. Okay, so there are posted segment, unposted segment. Posted segments having their visibility on or 1, unposted segments having their visibility 0 or they are off. Okay, So that you have to remember for the segment. And at last, the advantages of using the segmented display files means advantages of segment, you can say. So segmentation allows you to organize display files in sub picture structure. Okay, it allows to apply different set of attributes to the different portions of the image. Due to segmentation, selective portion of the image can be displayed. Segmentation makes it easier to modify the picture by changing segment attributes or by replacing segments. Okay, and the last advantage of segment is segmentation allows application of transformation on selective portion of the image. So that is all about the segment. Now moving forward with the animation. Now you all know about the animation. We have seen it nowadays. We have seen it in many of the day-to-day activities on televisions, on smartphones. And which are the applications of this? Which are the applications? We have lots of entertainment applications of this particular part, that is animation, like computer games or your smartphone games, motion pictures, cartoons. Okay, this is also applicable in the advertising, in the scientific and engineering studies, and training and education. So lots of application areas this animation is having. Okay. And increasingly it is created by means of a 3D computer graphics that we have studied in the previous lecture, right? Computer animation, it is the art of creating moving images via the use of computers, and it is the subfield of computer graphics and animation. Okay. So what actually you do in this particular, or what this concept of animation is actually. So in computer animation, we create some illusion of movements. Okay, so to create the illusion of movement, an image is displayed on a computer screen. Okay, then quickly it is replaced by some new image that is similar with the previous one, and but a slight having a slight difference in it, or slightly shifted from the previous image. Okay, and this technique is identical to how the illusion of movement is achieved with the television and the motion pictures. Okay, so we can create this animation by a conventional method or by the computer based animation. Okay, so animated movies means the movie generated by animating drawn pictures. It is not the movie with the actors in the real world scene, but mm, some other objects. Okay, or some other elements. Okay, the good example of this is the cartoons you have seen. Disney movies are the good examples of this animated movies. Okay, nowadays there are count countless animated cartoons and commercial advertisements on TV. Okay, so you all know about that. The newest and fastest and economical tool for creating such animation movies is the computer with its graphics capabilities. Okay, so if we want to create such conventional animations, so some steps are there. So The basics of animation is there are 4 steps in designing an animation sequence. First is the storyboard layout. Second is the object definition. Then after keyframe specification. And fourth one is the generation of in-between frames. So let's start with the first step, storyboard layout. What it means? Actually, the rough sketches are the set of rough sketches you stored, and you one by one you shift to that particular rough sketch, okay, in some sequence of motion. So that is nothing but a storyboard layout. Okay, in storyboard layout we basically describe the set of actions or motions that take place in the scene, and we can either describe it with a list of sequence of motion or set of some rough sketches. So here actually the example is given. You can see that uh, this is the image of what? Bouncing ball. Okay. So the action you have to give or action you have to mention means you have to make that ball, you have to make that ball bounce, or you have to uh, you just have to make that ball roll on the ground. Okay, that is what the action they you have to specify. Now in particularly in this diagram you can see the starting position and the finishing or end position is, you can see by which is shown by the red balls. Okay, so this main two are what? These are the main two positions or highlighted. You can say it as the main keyframes also. Okay, and the midest one. Okay, likewise this between these two red balls, the midest one, the middle ones are what? These are nothing but your in between frames. Okay, so the two reds are keyframes and these are the in between frames. Okay, you can also make this as your keyframe. Okay, where your ball is bent somewhere, get a turn somewhere, so you can make them as a keyframes. Okay, and whatever the middle ones are what? In between frames, that are said to be as a in between frames. Okay, so that is the example of anime. It it is a example of actually a motion picture. Okay, that is nothing but the animation. By giving some action to it, we can say it as we have created an animation. Okay, second one is the object definition. So in object definition, right now I have told you what you have to particularly do on that particular object, with which movement you have to provide over there, so that you have to mention. Okay, you have to specify the characteristics of an object present in that scene. In object definition, we specify the shape of the object, the movement of the object. Like our bouncing ball, we specify the shape, the movement of the ball, movement like movement how, whether it is bouncing or whether it is rolling. Then object definition has to be described for each object present in the scene. Okay. Then after, third step is keyframe specification. So what do you mean by keyframe? I have told you right now. A keyframe is a detailed image of the scene at a particular time in the animation sequence. So in a keyframe, the object is positioned according the timing of the keyframe. The particular time is assigned for that particular keyframe when actually it is going to be displayed on your screen. In some animation scene where the lot of detailed motion is not needed, extreme keyframes are chosen. Like in our previous example, bouncing ball. Extreme keyframes are mentioned there, which are present with the red color. Okay, red color balls. In animation scenes where there are complex motions, more number of keyframes are placed over the timeline. Okay, complex motions are there if in your scene, then you have to increase the number of keyframes, okay, with the timeline for more detailed motion. Okay, then after the in between frames, generation of in between frames. Okay, right now I have told you. So in between frames are nothing but what, that are placed or added in between the keyframes. Okay, these are what, in between the keyframes. Keyframeच्या मध्ये असतात. Okay, the number of in between frames depends on the media. Okay, in movies or films, the frame rate is 24 frames per second. In computer monitor or television, the refresh rate is either 30 or 60 frames per second. So to record 1 minute of animation on a film, we need around 24 by 1 minute means 60 seconds. So 24 by 60 is 1440 frames, which are aligned in a sequence, means you need that much of in between frames which should align in a sequence for the generation of your animation clip. Okay, what else? So that are the most important part of animation. These are same, these are the actually anime what conventional animation used in a conventional animation. Okay, and one more is there, like there is a pencil test. That step is also there. What it means, it means that with the keyframes and the in between frames that we have created, a trial film is made out of that, and which is called as a pencil test. Okay, we give them some motion, some action, and we create that film. So that is called as a pencil test. That is also one of the step while creating a animation, conventional animation. Okay, and then after uh, one more is computer based animation. So in computer based animation also same steps are there. Okay, only in computer, what is a difference between conventional and a computer based? Digitization is the process or step used in computer based animation. Okay, what do you mean by digitization? Means some methods or procedures related or with the digitization is used. Okay, means producing original drawings by animation paint systems. Okay, using optical scanning, by tracking the drawings with a data tablet. Okay, these methods or procedures are used in the computer based animation. Okay, then in between frames and equivalent of pencil test and keyframes, all these are what, these are something somewhat the similar part with the conventional animation. Okay, so that is with the computer based animation. And the what else means what else you can do in the animation, so that is given. Apart from just the 4 tasks, there are many more tasks that need to be completed to create an animation. They include motion verification, editing, production or rendering, synchronization of the soundtrack. And nowadays most of the things are done on the computer itself, so with the help of computer based animation. And the last one is morphing. So morphing is important from MCQ point of view. It can be asked in MCQ question, so I have added here. Morphing is a special effect in motion pictures and animation that changes one image into another through a seamless transition. Okay, what do you mean by a seamless transition? That you can't catch within a fraction of seconds take it took place. Okay, so that is nothing but a seamless transition. It is a transformation of object shapes from one form to another form. Okay, so that is called as a morphing, changing particular image into another one. Okay, within a fraction of sec or seamless transition. Okay, not having some distraction or disturbance. Okay, so that is all about today's lecture. Segment and animation we have covered. Okay, so in the I hope you all understand it well, and study it, revise it again and again. I'll share you all of the topics and the PPT also on Google Classroom. So thank you guys. We'll meet in the next lecture with the curves and fractals. Thank you.